Hey guys, it's Dasha. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to January 2022's round of a game of tomes. If you're new here, welcome. This is my TBR game. I've been playing this every month except for December for the last just under a year, and this is how I pick my TBR each month. I roll the dice, I move around the board, there are a bunch of prompts, cards, all sorts of crazy chaotic stuff. There will be a playlist linked down below with the first round, which kind of goes over the board and the cards and gives you every detail you really need to know. But if this is not your first time watching, then you already know how this goes. There will be only one slight change for this year's, I guess, season. Don't know how else to call this, but if you already know how it is, then let's get into January. Since I did not make a TBR for December through the board, I will not be going over what I read in November. It's history now, it's a new year, we're refreshed, but I do want to touch on two things. So the first of these is that I do have to take a punishment because there were a couple of months that I didn't complete my TBR, and if that's not enough, I didn't even do the TBR, so I will be adding a punishment. However, overall for this whole year, at least, I will only be doing 4 rolls now instead of 5, because if you saw my goals video for the year, which will be linked, I decided that I wanted to read bigger books and slower books, I guess, and not read more books. I really want to slow down and focus on some different types of books because usually I'm just trying to get through as many as I can. Naturally, I want to experience everything, but I thought I would set myself a goal to read maybe less books if that's what happens, but read longer and denser books. So I think in order to kind of accommodate that goal, I want to only have 4 rolls in Game of Tomes, and hopefully that gives me a little bit of wiggle room in case maybe I have a super long book on my TBR that I'm working my way through that takes me a few months, or if I do manage to read some extra books in there, at least my TBR itself won't be affected and I won't be failing every single month and adding 6 books to my TBR. So with those announcements out of the way, let's go get into the rolls for January. All right, we are back. As it is the new year, we are starting at the start. I feel it is only fair. Additionally, every single card has been reshuffled, so we might get the same ones, who knows? As I mentioned, first things first, we have to do a punishment, but that's okay because we're reducing the number of rolls overall. That's fine, I'm okay with that. So what have we got for punishment? Ooh, randomize entire TBR, and that doesn't mean just my own TBR, it means everything I've ever put on my TBR. All right, so our punishment was not too kind to us. For the first book of the year, it's gonna have to be entirely random. My Goodreads TBR has about 650 books on it, and that's not counting sequels unless I own them or I really wanna read them, but like if it's the first book in a series I haven't read yet, it's just the first book. So there's a lot on there. So I'm gonna come around behind the phone and show you guys my TBR, pull up a random number generator and see what the hell I'm reading. Actually, I realized I can just screen record. I'm not gonna come behind the camera, that's not fun. What we are gonna do is, we're gonna go ahead and open up our Goodreads, go to our want to read. How many books do I have? So I have them by title already, that's good. 648. Oh, shit. So we're gonna go in, 648, and generate. I have to count through 299 books. One 174, 175, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, for 299, we have The Library at Mount Char, which, if I'm being entirely honest with y'all, is not something I thought I would be reading anytime soon. This is, as I've heard it described, like just a really weird horror fantasy book about a group of adults that were taken in by this man. I think they call him the father, and he has this really weird control over their lives. And beyond that, everyone just says it's weird, kind of like Bunny by Mona Awad. Like all everyone says about this book is that it's just, I'm so sorry you guys have to see that. I cook with my iPad in the kitchen a lot. I'm just gonna put that down. Everyone just kind of describes it as just a really, really weird book. I'm not even sure anyone knows what it's really about, but it seems somewhat intriguing, which is why I put it on my TBR, so I guess I'm gonna find out. So that is the first book on my TBR for 2022. We're gonna go in for roll number 1 of January and roll of 2022 actually. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we've got Sir Jorah, random number generator, fantasy TBR. I vow to serve you, to obey you, to die for you if need be. Well, this is a great start to the year. I love having a lot of choice in what I'm reading. We have another random number generator. This time it's my entire fantasy TBR, which is a bit more, specific at least. It will not be a whole, 650 book process. So let's pull the random number generator back out. Right, so I've got 137 books on my fantasy TBR. And generate 42. 42 is a great number. You know why? Because it's not 200 something. I'm gonna go by title. And we're gonna go to 42. 2, 3, 4. 42 gives us Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, which is very interesting because I own this on my iPad and I wanted to soft goal read more sci-fi this year. I know this one's fantasy sci-fi. Lesbian necromancers in space. I mean, once you say space, it's probably sci-fi. I'm not sure if you would consider this more one or the other, but I put it in fantasy because I know that it's still considered fantasy for the most part. So there you go. And like I said, the only thing I know about this is that it is lesbian necromancers in space. As soon as I heard everyone say that, I was kind of sold. I know vague things about kind of the world and the plot, and then there are different houses. So Gideon is part of the 9th house, but I don't know how any of that works beyond it. I also know these books are very complex and confusing, but in a way that just makes you want to keep reading them. So I'm excited to discover for myself, to be quite honest with you. Roll number 2. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another character. We got the Masters, or Maesters. There are some who call my order the Knights of the Mind. Use a random word generator and find a book that fits the word. I'm starting to have a few regrets about this whole randomized thing I thought would be fun to throw in because I got another random something. Let's go find us a random word and pick a book that has to do with it. So, random word generator. I know it gives you one right away, but I'm gonna press conflict. Oh, that could be anything. Okay, so I think I have the perfect book for this. I'm gonna go with How to Hide an Empire by Daniel Immerwahr. So if you saw my 22, I haven't posted it yet. Okay, I pre-film and I don't upload things when I'm supposed to, but anyways, I have a video coming very soon, 22 books that I want to read for 2022, and this book is on it. And the reason I put it on this list is because I am very hyped for it. I love the kind of secret / hidden history of things, and I feel like the US has a lot of hidden history. And this book is basically about the US's imperialism and how they hold a bunch of territories through imperialist tactics and military maneuvers, and how it's just not talked about that much. And I'm very curious. I feel like it would give a lot of context to a lot of the militaristic movements in the US, as well as some other conflicts. Hence the prompt, conflict, because military conflicts, international relations conflicts, I feel like it would just be really interesting. On top of that, this book fits for the Buzzwordathon prompt, which is the 5 W's and H, and How to Hide an Empire. If you don't know, Buzzwordathon is Books and Lala's year-long reading challenge. You can either read a bunch of books with the prompt in the first week of every month, or you can just pick one book each month that fits the prompt. And so I do it, or I try to do it with one book each month that fits the prompt. So this one's gonna fit for January because How to Hide an Empire. And it's along with, more nonfiction, which I love. And I'm really hyped for this one. I've been hyped for it for a few years, and I think now is a very good time to sit down and read it. Roll number 3. 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for our location, we've got the Godswood Read a Classic. All right, our next roll is a location card, and the prompt is to read a classic, which is good, because one of my goals for the year was to read more classics, also in that goals video. And I think for this, I'm also gonna take a book from my 22 for 2022, because obviously I have to read those books, and I'm gonna go with And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This is a classic whodunit, like close circle, isolated mystery. A bunch of strangers are invited to a mysterious island party, and then when they all get there, people start dropping like flies, and it's clearly one of the guests or maybe their mysterious host, who knows. I've been excited for this one for a while. I just never got around to it because the premise is just so iconic that it's been repeated, and there's a lot of more interesting, at least like on the surface, iterations of it. But I still really want to read the original and see why she's so iconic. So I think this is going to be good, along with a lot of the more dense things that are already on the TBR. I think this is going to be a really good, like fast-paced, kind of don't have to think too hard book to kind of break up all the more dense stuff that I have on the TBR. So I will be reading And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and I'm hyped. And roll number 4, our final roll, a 1. Starting the year off strong with a battle card. Oh, I like this one. Friend picks a book they love, and depending on how I feel, I move forward or backward the next month. And then finally, we got a card that we've seen and loved before. It is Friend Picks a Book They Love. Last time I got this, Ray had picked Ray Bearer for me, and spoiler alert, I read both books in that duology. Absolutely loved them. I thought they were phenomenal, and it worked really, really well in my favor. This time I asked Robin, because last time I asked Robin, it was for a book she didn't like, and didn't like, a book that she hated, and I didn't get around to reading it because I think it was in the month of October, and I just completely failed my TBR and I never got around to it, so I wanted to give her like redemption. She said it was probably a good thing I didn't end up reading that book. If you want, you can go watch the TBR right here. But she ended up saying, she's like, it's not a big deal, I'm not upset. Probably better that you didn't read that book anyways. And for a book that I love, I would like you to read Death, A Life by George Pendle. So this is basically Death's memoir. It's fictional, obviously, but it's the memoir of Death. And she's actually read this twice, and she never rereads books. That's how good it was. And I remember she was talking to us about this during our live sprints for the Game of Tomes readathon, and she was rereading it, and she was absolutely loving it just as much, if not more, the second time around. So I'm very curious to see how I feel, because I've literally never heard of this book before, but I remember Robin talking about it. And also it's a standalone, which is good because we're not going too crazy through series. I guess Gideon the Ninth is a series starter, but we're doing our best here. I mean, I got a lot of random prompts, so you know what? This is a good one. It's a standalone. It seems not too crazy long. It's a little bit difficult to find. Like, I can't find it at the library, but I will get my hands on it and I will read it because I feel like it is going to work really well for me. So ordinarily I would show you my stack right here, but not a single book that I am reading this month is a physical book that I own, which is a little concerning considering how much my physical TBR has increased, but it is what it is. Let me know if you guys have read any of these and enjoyed them. There's a few more obscure ones on the list, so I'm always very, very curious to see what people think. Let me know what you're planning on reading in January. The beginning of the year is like feels like a reset button, so let me know if you're trying to, get a head start on some goals or whatever. My social media is linked down below, as well as the other Game of Tomes videos. You guys can go binge those if you'd like. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!